With Kroger brand products, you can get all of your favorite things this holiday season. Because our proven quality products come at exceptionally low prices. And with a money-back quality guarantee, every dish is sure to be a favorite. From sweet sugar cookies and holiday ham to that perfect slice of pie. Whether you shop delivery, pickup, or in-store, Kroger brand has all your favorite things. Kroger, fresh for everyone.
Dear kids, thank you for all your holiday joy, and thank you for reminding us that December is our favorite month too. Find something that brings out the kid in you at the Lexus December to Remember sales event. Get offers on select vehicles.
Lease the 2025 NX 250 for $429 a month for 36 months for $39.99 due at signing.
Experience amazing at your Lexus dealer.
Call 1-800-USA-LEXUS for important lease offer and pricing details. Not all customers will qualify. Offer available in Southern area only until January 6, 2025.
This is SpaceTime, Series 27, Episode 153, for broadcast on the 20th of December 2024. Coming up on SpaceTime, the possible strange origins of some Martian minerals, Australia's Arnhem Space Centre scrapped, and discovery of the heaviest antimatter particle ever detected. All that and more coming up on SpaceTime.
Welcome to SpaceTime with Stuart Gary.
A new study has found that some minerals seen on Mars today may have been formed in liquid carbon dioxide rather than liquid water. Dry river channels and lake beds on Mars point to a long ago presence of a liquid on the planet's surface. And the minerals observed from orbit and from landers seem to many scientists to prove that the liquid was ordinary water. However, a new study reported in the journal Nature Geoscience suggests that water is only one of two possible liquids which, under the right conditions, could have been present on ancient Mars. The other is liquid carbon dioxide, and it may actually have been easier for carbon dioxide in the atmosphere to condense into a liquid under those conditions than for water ice to melt. While others have suggested that liquid CO2 might be the source for some of the river channels seen on Mars, the mineral evidence seems to point uniquely to water. However, this new paper cites recent studies of carbon sequestration, the process of burying liquefied CO2 recovered from Earth's atmosphere deep in underground caverns. It shows that similar mineral alteration can occur in liquid carbon dioxide as in liquid water, sometimes even more rapidly. The study's lead author, Michael Heck, principal investigator for the MOXIE instrument aboard NASA's Mars Perseverance rover mission, says understanding how sufficient liquid water was able to flow on the early Martian surface in order to explain the morphology and mineralogy seen today is probably the greatest unsettled question of Martian science. He says there's likely no one right answer, and is merely suggesting another possible piece of the puzzle. Heck and colleagues looked at the compatibility of their proposal with current knowledge of Martian atmospheric content and the implications for Martian surface mineralogy. They also explored the latest carbon sequestration research and concluded that liquid CO2 mineral reactions are consistent with the predominant Mars alteration products, carbonates, phyllosilicates, and sulfates. The argument for the probable existence of liquid CO2 on the Martian surface isn't an all-in or all-out scenario. It's not a case of either liquid CO2 or liquid water. It could be that a combination of both may have brought about much of the geomorphological and mineralogical evidence for a liquid Mars. The likelihood of each depends on the actual inventory of CO2 at the time, as well as the temperature conditions on the surface. The authors acknowledge that the tested sequestration conditions, where the liquid CO2 is above room temperature at pressures of tens of atmospheres, are very different from the cold, relatively low pressure conditions that might have once produced liquid CO2 on early Mars. Heck says it's difficult to say just how likely it is that this speculation about early Mars is true. But the likelihood is high enough that the possibility should not be ignored. This is SpaceTime. Still to come, the Northern Territory's Arnhem Spaceport closed and scrapped, and discovery of what could be the heaviest antimatter particle ever detected. All that and more still to come on SpaceTime. It was meant to herald in a bright new era for the Northern Territory. But ongoing problems with some of the traditional owners has forced Equatorial Launch Australia to shut down the Arnhem Space Centre near Nhulunbuy and relocate operations to Queensland. The commercial spaceport looked like it had an exciting future, with 3 suborbital rocket launches for NASA under its belt in 2022 and a long list of potential future clients, which would have seen around 50 launches a year, generating a projected $3.6 billion in direct economic stimulus. The problem is there have been multiple delays in trying to secure a lease agreement with the Northern Land Council. That's the group representing the traditional owners of the land. The lease is needed to expand the base and build infrastructure for future missions. Equatorial Launch Australia says the Northern Land Council has failed to meet its own specified deadline for the approval of the head lease for the 4th time in the last 12 months. The company says despite desperate appeals by the company, the Northern Territory's Chief Minister's Department and the Gumadji Corporation since February 2024, the Northern Land Council would not issue a head lease or provide any official reasons for the ongoing delays. The Spaceport project was meant to provide indigenous employment and was provided with $5 million worth of taxpayer funding to get the project off the ground. The company says the ongoing delays had a potential to put Equatorial Launch Australia in breach of its contractual obligations with launch clients. And so it's now started negotiations with the Queensland government and is looking at a site near Weipa on Cape York Peninsula for a new spaceport which will be called the Australian Space Centre, Cape York. This is SpaceTime. Still to come, discovery of the heaviest antimatter particle ever detected. And later in the science report, a new study warns that Australian and New Zealand species are among the most vulnerable to extinction due to climate change. All that and more still to come on SpaceTime.
The most wonderful time of the year. Although, let's be honest, around the holidays, things really add up. But here's the good news. Only at Verizon, you can get a single line for $50 per month when you switch and bring your phone. So, while ice skating for 2 is definitely costing more, here at Verizon, you can save. Gifts for your third cousins? Steep. A single line with Verizon? Not so steep. A real tree? Pricey. A single line with Verizon? Less pricey. Flights to see Mima and Pops? Those are up. A $50 per month single line? That's down. Even a trip to the Atlanta holiday market will cost you more. But with Verizon, you can switch and bring your phone for just $50 per month for a single line on unlimited welcome, with autopay plus taxes and fees. All this to say, during the holiday season, when everything is costing more, you can get more for less right now at a local Verizon store. $15 monthly promo credits applied over 36 months with a new line on unlimited welcome. In times of congestion, unlimited 5G, 4G LTE may be temporarily slower than other traffic. Domestic data roaming at 2G speeds. Additional terms apply. The most wonderful time of the year. Although, let's be honest, around the holidays, things really add up. But here's the good news. Only at Verizon, you can get a single line for $50 per month when you switch and bring your phone. So, while ice skating for 2 is definitely costing more, here at Verizon, you can save. Gifts for your third cousins? Steep. A single line with Verizon? Not so steep. A real tree? Pricey. A single line with Verizon? Less pricey. Flights to see Mima and Pops? Those are up. A $50 per month single line? That's down. Even a trip to the Atlanta holiday market will cost you more. But with Verizon, you can switch and bring your phone for just $50 per month for a single line on unlimited welcome, with autopay plus taxes and fees. All this to say, during the holiday season, when everything is costing more, you can get more for less right now at a local Verizon store. $15 monthly promo credits applied over 36 months with a new line on unlimited welcome. In times of congestion, unlimited 5G, 4G LTE may be temporarily slower than other traffic. Domestic data roaming at 2G speeds. Additional terms apply.
Scientists have found evidence for what appears to be the most massive antimatter particle ever detected. The discovery was made by physicists with the ALICE experiment at the world's largest atom smasher, the Large Hadron Collider, or LHC, at CERN, the European Organisation for Nuclear Research. In theory, antimatter is exactly the same as normal matter, but with opposite electrical charge and some different quark colours. So, while the proton has a positive charge, its antimatter counterpart, the antiproton, would have the same mass but a negative charge. And while the electron has a negative charge, its antimatter counterpart, the positron, has the same mass but a positive charge. Science's current understanding of cosmology suggests that equal amounts of matter and antimatter would have been produced in the Big Bang 13.8 billion years ago. Now, because matter and antimatter annihilate each other as soon as they come into contact, the universe should have disappeared in a sudden blinding flash of purple gamma radiation as soon as it formed. Yet, clearly this didn't happen. For some as yet unknown reason, we live in a universe which is asymmetric, made up almost exclusively of matter, with antimatter mostly missing. Scientists using the Large Hadron Collider, a 27-kilometre circumference underground particle accelerator along the Franco-Swiss border, were smashing heavy ions together at 99.999% the speed of light, creating what's called a quark-gluon plasma, the hot and dense state of matter that existed during the first millionth of a second after the Big Bang. And in the process, they created an exotic hypernucleus known as hyperhelium-4. Measurements of these forms of matter are important for helping physicists understand the formation of hadrons from the plasma constituents of quarks and gluons and the matter-antimatter asymmetry which is seen in our present-day universe. Hypernuclei are exotic nuclei formed by a mix of protons, neutrons and hyperons, the latter being unstable particles containing one or more strange quarks. There are 6 types of quarks: up, down, top, bottom, charm and strange. And strange quarks are extremely rare. More than 70 years after their discovery in cosmic rays, hypernuclei remain a source of fascination for physicists because they're rarely found in nature and it's challenging to create and study them in the laboratory. And that's where the ALICE experiment comes in. But until recently, only the lightest hypernucleus, the hypertriton, and its antimatter partner, the antihypertriton, have been observed. A hypertriton is composed of a proton, a neutron, and a lambda, that is, a hyperon containing a strange quark. An antihypertriton is made up of an antiproton, an antineutron, and an antilambda. Following hot on the heels of an observation of antihyperhydrogen-4, which is a bound state of an antiproton, 2 antineutrons and an antilambda, and which were reported earlier this year by the STAR collaboration at the Relativistic Heavy Ion Collider at the Brookhaven National Laboratory in New York, the ALICE collaboration at the L8C has now seen the first ever evidence for antihyperhelium-4, which is composed of 2 antiprotons, an antineutron, and an antilambda. The result represents the first evidence for the heaviest antimatter hypernuclei yet detected. The ALICE measurement is based on lead-lead collision data taken back in 2018 at an energy of 5.02 tera-electron volts for each of the colliding pair of nucleons, that is, protons and neutrons. Using a machine learning technique that outperforms conventional hypernuclei search techniques, the ALICE researchers looked at the data for signals of hyperhydrogen-4, hyperhelium-4, and their antimatter partners. Candidates for the antihyperhydrogen-4 were identified by looking for the antihyperhelium-4 nucleus and the charged pion into which it decays, whereas candidates for the antihyperhelium-4 were identified through its decay into antihelium-3 nucleus, an antiproton, and a charged pion. Pions are the lightest type of subatomic particles called mesons, which are the lightest types of matter particles called hadrons. They're highly unstable and usually decay in a matter of nanoseconds. In addition to finding evidence for antihyperhelium-4 with a significance of 3.5 sigma, as well as evidence for antihyperhydrogen-4 with a significance of 4.5 sigma, the ALICE team also measured the production yields and masses for both hypernuclei. The findings are consistent with ALICE's observations of the equal production of both matter and antimatter at L8C energies and adds to the ongoing research into matter-antimatter imbalance in the universe. The ALICE detector recently underwent a major upgrade with new components and equipment, helping the facility to improve its scientific research. This report from the ALICE collaboration at CERN.
Welcome to CERN. Welcome to LHC Point 2, one of the 8 surface points on the surface of the Large Hadron Collider. This is the home of the ALICE experiment that is situated about 60 meters underground. ALICE stands for a Large Ion Collider experiment, and it is one of the 4 detectors reading the collisions generated by the Large Hadron Collider. It's a very special detector studying the conditions of matter right after the very beginning of the universe at the Big Bang. We are here to share with you a major and spectacular operation of transport and installation of some of the components of the ALICE detector that have been undergoing a major upgrade. These operations was happening here on the surface. We've been following it. In particular, we have been following the time projection chamber, one of the main components of the detector, a big piece, 14.2 tons heavy, while it was transported from the clean room, where it has been upgraded in the last few months, through the shaft inside the TPC cavern. The TPC is being descended into the shaft, precisely 56 meters deep. This was quite a delicate operation because the TPC is almost as large as the shaft itself. It measures 50 meters in length. It has 90 cubic meters in volume, so the tolerance was very little. The piece is extremely cumbersome and heavy, but also delicate and sophisticated. So you can see the ALICE engineers running around the gangways, making sure that everything is under control. The movement was quite slow. It took an entire hour to descend 56 meters, and it took, all in all, 3 days for the whole operation to be completed. The operation is now complete. The TPC is underground. We are going to join very soon the ALICE technical coordinator, Werner Riegler, to ask him questions about the operation, the piece, what it measures, what it does, why it's been upgraded. We are in the ALICE cavern with Werner Riegler, the technical coordinator of the ALICE collaboration. Hi, Werner. So we are here, and the movement of the time projection chamber, your TPC, has just started. Tell me, what's happening?
So this is now, after the move from the clean room to the cavern, this is now the final move of the TPC into the ALICE detector to the interaction point. It's a very critical moment because we have changed a lot on the TPC during this upgrade. We also have changed a lot on the ALICE detector, so we still have lots of new services, and we have to make sure it fits. The clearances are very tight, so there are many people all around the TPC to look that we have no interferences and that we can move the TPC really to the final position.
And it's moving very slowly.
Yes, it's moving slowly, of course, because everybody has to look that there are no things in the way. The TPC has about 15 tons. We pull it with hydraulic checks, and of course, if there's something in the way, you would not feel it. You have to really look to make sure that we don't break anything, and this is why it's a very slow movement, and why we have many people around the TPC to have a look.
Okay, and now, once it's in its final position inside, there are all sorts of connections to be made, right?
So yes, what we do now is the TPC will go to the final position, okay, and then we will align it, okay. It has to be aligned properly to a millimeter or so or better with the nominal beam line from the
very precisely
with the beam line. And once this is done, then we move it back a little bit, and then the beam pipe will be installed. This is the piece that will then connect the two sides of the LHC tunnel where the beam will pass through.
It's like a Lego, basically. ALICE is made of many different components.
Yes.
The TPC is very, very big.
Yes.
It's beautiful to look at, and it's very delicate, as we've seen. The transport down the shaft was also very careful, and now is very carefully being inserted inside. What's the role of the TPC in the whole detector?
Yeah. So the TPC is our main tracking detector.
It means time projection chamber. Let's also explain why this name. What does it mean exactly?
So yeah, the task of the TPC is to track the particles, okay, to make the particles visible that are produced in the heavy ion collisions. And the trick with the TPC is that this is a big volume that is filled with a very light gas, with neon gas.
Yeah.
And as particles are moving through this gas, these particles are ionizing the gas, and these electrons and ions that are produced there are then detected by the TPC, and this is how we can make the path of the particles
the nice,
visible.
beautiful tracks of the ALICE event. And now that it's going to be in half an hour or so, because the movement is low, but it takes time. But it's also a short movement right now that you're doing. It's the final part.
Yeah, it's about 2-3 meters that we move in. As I said, it will go to the final position. and after that we move back a little bit, and then we install the beam pipe, which is a very important element of a particle.
The beam pipe is also new. It's a new beam pipe that you're putting in.
The beam pipe is new. The beam pipe is also a very important element of a particle detector, because we want to be as close as possible to the collision point with our sensors.
Right.
The machine, of course, they want the pipe as big as possible to be sure there are no interferences. So there is a long negotiation with the machine to be able to agree on the smallest possible beam pipe. And the one we will have is about 4 centimeters in diameter. And the important thing for the beam pipe is also that the wall is only 800 micron thick. If this would be a big steel pipe, the particles that are produced inside in the collision, when they go through this pipe, they would be completely diverted and our measurement would be not possible. So this is why there has to be the least amount of material possible around the collision point. This is why this beam pipe is of this very thin beryllium, which is very fragile. So you can imagine if we have this very brittle object and then around this we have to install our detectors, it's a very delicate operation.
Amazing, amazing. We're going to follow one of your collaborators, Roberto Di Via, who could go inside Alice before the TPC was inserted and show us one of the most innermost places where it's very rare to go in, because normally TPC is always in. And these are the muon absorber and the trigger. Before looking at that, tell us more, what do these components do?
So yeah, the muon absorber is one big object inside, which is absorbing all the particles in the forward region, and all the muons are the particles that manage to go through, because behind that there's the big muon spectrometer that should just measure these particles. Yeah. So this is a very massive object at the other side here of our detector. And the trigger, this is the electronics that will decide on the readout of the detector. It has to be very close to the detector such that the propagation time of the signals is small. And this is on the back side, a bit under the magnet.
Amazing. Thank you very much, Werner. And I leave you back to your very delicate and important work today.
Okay,
thank you.
So this is the muon absorber. It is like a big sponge that takes all the low energy particles, so that everything that passes is a high energy particle, mainly muons. And on the other side of this absorber is a series of detectors which are dedicated only to the muon physics. So it's like a big shower going towards the back of Alice. So this is the deepest point in Alice. Here we are at minus 56 meters. And this is the trigger. We are in the bunker. This is solid concrete, so no particles can come in here. And this is the heart of Alice. This is where the decision, if something interesting happened, is taken. And this is done on the fly. This was done during run 2. During run 3, it will be a different scheme. This heart will be a bit more relieved. It will beat a bit less, but nevertheless, it will be the core of the taking of data for the whole of Alice.
And in that report from the Alice collaboration at CERN, we heard from Paola Catapano from CERN Communications, Werner Riegler, Alice Technical Coordinator, and Alice Experiment Systems Coordinator Roberto Di Via. This is SpaceTime.
The most wonderful time of the year. Although, let's be honest, around the holidays, things really add up. But here's the good news. Only at Verizon, you can get a single line for $50 per month when you switch and bring your phone. So while ice skating for two is definitely costing more, here at Verizon, you can save. Gifts for your third cousins? Steep. A single line with Verizon? Not so steep. A real tree? Pricey. A single line with Verizon? Less pricey. Flights to see Mima and Pops? Those are up. A $50 per month single line? That's down. Even a trip to the Atlanta holiday market will cost you more. But with Verizon, you can switch and bring your phone for just $50 per month for a single line on unlimited welcome, with autopay plus taxes and fees. All this to say, during the holiday season, when everything is costing more, you can get more for less right now at a local Verizon store. $15 monthly promo credits applied over 36 months with a new line on unlimited welcome. In times of congestion, unlimited 5G, 4G LTE may be temporarily slower than other traffic. Domestic data roaming at 2G speeds. Additional terms apply. The most wonderful time of the year. Although, let's be honest, around the holidays, things really add up. But here's the good news. Only at Verizon, you can get a single line for $50 per month when you switch and bring your phone. So while ice skating for two is definitely costing more, here at Verizon, you can save. Gifts for your third cousins? Steep. A single line with Verizon? Not so steep. A real tree? Pricey. A single line with Verizon? Less pricey. Flights to see Mima and Pops? Those are up. A $50 per month single line? That's down. Even a trip to the Atlanta holiday market will cost you more. But with Verizon, you can switch and bring your phone for just $50 per month for a single line on unlimited welcome, with autopay plus taxes and fees. All this to say, during the holiday season, when everything is costing more, you can get more for less right now at a local Verizon store. $15 monthly promo credits applied over 36 months with a new line on unlimited welcome. In times of congestion, unlimited 5G, 4G LTE may be temporarily slower than other traffic. Domestic data roaming at 2G speeds. Additional terms apply.
And time now to take another brief look at some of the other stories making news in science this week with the Science Report. A new study has shown that living in a community with a high exposure to pesticides may come with an increased risk for some cancers that's comparable to smoking. A report of the journal Frontiers of Cancer Control and Society compared agricultural pesticide data, cancer rates, and data on other cancer risks, including smoking, in order to estimate the relationship between living in an agricultural community with high pesticide use and eventual cancer rates. And the authors found a link between pesticide exposure and an increased risk for any cancer. A new study warns that Australian and New Zealand species are among the most vulnerable to extinction due to climate change. The findings, reported in the journal Science, are based on a global analysis of 30 years of research data. The authors show that under a projected 2.7 degrees Celsius temperature rise above pre-industrial levels, 1 in 20 species will be at risk of extinction globally. The authors found that amphibians, species in mountain regions, species on isolated islands, and freshwater ecosystem species, as well as species inhabiting South America, Australia and New Zealand, all face the greatest threats. A new study has found that around 1 in 5 people under the age of 50, that's some 846 million people globally, have a genital herpes infection. The findings, reported in the journal Sexually Transmitted Infections, also shows that more than 200 million people between 15 and 49 have probably had at least one symptomatic outbreak of the infection in 2020, the last year for which the figures were available. There are 2 types of herpes simplex virus, HSV1 and HSV2, both of which are highly infectious, incurable, and last a lifetime. HSV1 is primarily spread in childhood through mouth contact, resulting in cold sores in and around the mouth. But it can sometimes cause more serious neurological eye, skin and mucous membrane complications. And it's increasingly being spread through sexual contact at older ages. On the other hand, HSV2 is almost entirely sexually transmitted through skin-to-skin contact, and it's the leading cause of recurrent painful genital blisters. Although relatively rare, both HSV1 and 2 can be passed on to newborns, often proving fatal. The findings are prompting the authors to call for the development of new treatments and vaccines in order to try and control the spread of this infection and to try and lessen its health and financial burden. And time now for what must be the silliest story of the week, if not the year. It seems former CNN reporter Tucker Carlson is now claiming that he's been attacked by a demon. Really, we didn't make this up. Tim Mendham from Australian Skeptics says a popular celebrity journalist claims the incident occurred some 18 months ago and left him bleeding with scars from claw marks.
He is now claiming that a couple of years ago he got attacked by a demon while he was sleeping. Now the issue is a few things here. Okay, he was sleeping in his bed with his wife and apparently 4 dogs, and then he suddenly woke up. What do you say? I woke up, I couldn't breathe and I thought I was going to suffocate. Well, it's actually a sleep paralysis. It's a true condition where you're lying in bed, you can't move and you think there's someone holding you down, or it's a nightmare condition. It's real, and you might wake up, you might be half awake, etc., but you feel you're being just totally trapped, can't move, there's a ghost beside you or something like that, or some figure, and it's a very scary experience. So whether he had that, but apparently he did get up and he wandered around and he flipped on the light in the bathroom or something. He went in there and he saw claw marks with either side underneath his arms on his,
And now he sleeps now, as well as his wife, there are also dogs on the bed.
Yeah, that's right. Now,
exactly.
Dogs have nightmares.
That's Tim Mendham from Australian Skeptics. That's the show for now. SpaceTime is available every Monday, Wednesday and Friday through Apple Podcasts, iTunes, Stitcher, Google Podcast, Pocket Casts, Spotify, Acast, Amazon Music, Bytes.com, SoundCloud, YouTube, your favourite podcast download provider, and from spacetimewithstuartgary.com. SpaceTime's also broadcast through the National Science Foundation on Science Zone Radio and on both iHeartRadio and TuneIn Radio. And you can help to support our show by visiting the SpaceTime store for a range of promotional merchandising goodies, or by becoming a SpaceTime patron, which gives you access to triple episode commercial-free versions of the show, as well as lots of bonus audio content which doesn't go to air, access to our exclusive Facebook group, and other rewards. Just go to spacetimewithstuartgary.com for full details.
You've been listening to Spacetime with Stuart Gary. This has been another quality podcast production from Bytes.com.
The most wonderful time of the year. Although, let's be honest, around the holidays, things really add up. But here's the good news. Only at Verizon, you can get a single line for $50 per month when you switch and bring your phone. So, while ice skating for two is definitely costing more, here at Verizon, you can save. Gifts for your third cousins? Steep. A single line with Verizon? Not so steep. A real tree? Pricey. A single line with Verizon? Less pricey. Flights to see Mima and Pops? Those are up. A $50 per month single line? That's down. Even a trip to the Atlanta holiday market will cost you more. But with Verizon, you can switch and bring your phone for just $50 per month for a single line on unlimited welcome, with autopay plus taxes and fees. All this to say, during the holiday season, when everything is costing more, you can get more for less right now at a local Verizon store. $15 monthly promo credits applied over 36 months with a new line on unlimited welcome. In times of congestion, unlimited 5G, 4G LTE may be temporarily slower than other traffic. Domestic data roaming at 2G speeds. Additional terms apply. The most wonderful time of the year. Although, let's be honest, around the holidays, things really add up. But here's the good news. Only at Verizon, you can get a single line for $50 per month when you switch and bring your phone. So, while ice skating for two is definitely costing more, here at Verizon, you can save. Gifts for your third cousins? Steep. A single line with Verizon? Not so steep. A real tree? Pricey. A single line with Verizon? Less pricey. Flights to see Mima and Pops? Those are up. A $50 per month single line? That's down. Even a trip to the Atlanta holiday market will cost you more. But with Verizon, you can switch and bring your phone for just $50 per month for a single line on unlimited welcome, with autopay plus taxes and fees. All this to say, during the holiday season, when everything is costing more, you can get more for less right now at a local Verizon store. $15 monthly promo credits applied over 36 months with a new line on unlimited welcome. In times of congestion, unlimited 5G, 4G LTE may be temporarily slower than other traffic. Domestic data roaming at 2G speeds. Additional terms apply.